Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Boxing Social podcast in association with Betfred. Make sure you like, share and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest boxing news and views. Today I am delighted to be joined by former British, Commonwealth and European champion, now top trainer, Jamie Moore. Jamie, how are you?
All right, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Now we're going to go through your sort of whole career and what you're doing now, but we'll start off just with you getting into boxing when you were young, your sort of first memories of the boxing gym.
Yeah, so I went when I was 13, maybe just before I was 14. A gym opened up about a mile from my house. I was always obsessed with boxing because my dad used to sit me down and watch Nigel Benn, Mike Tyson, them sort of fighters, and I was obsessed with Rocky as well. So I was always asking about going to a boxing gym. But we couldn't get to a boxing gym. There wasn't one around about where we lived. So from about 10 or 11, I was obsessed with it. And then when I was 13, a friend of mine, Chris from school, rang me up and said, "Chance to come in boxing. There's a boxing gym open just around the corner from his house." So I went down there from 13, and the rest is history.
Did you know from quite early on that was what you wanted to do, or were you just enjoying sort of going down to the gym?
Yeah, I knew. When I first went there, first 3 or 4 months, I had my first fight. After about the first 3 or 4 months, got carded quite quickly, and I lost my first fight, and I was heartbroken. But I sort of sat back and assessed the reason why I'd lost. Basically, I wasn't fit enough. I just wasn't fit enough. I got stopped in the second round. I just run out of gas, and made sure. So I went back to the gym, trained ridiculously hard, and then I boxed again. Probably about 6 months later, and it was against Anthony Farnell, my second fight, and I beat him on points. And it was a good job I was fit for that fight actually, because it was a pretty grueling fight for your second fight, and we knocked lumps out of each other. And but yeah, that was I knew. From being that sort of age, 14, maybe 15, I was going, I'm going to be a boxer. I remember actually doing my careers meeting in school. So they sit you down, sort of the middle of high school, innit, and they go, right, what do you want to be when you leave school? And I was like, I'm going to be a boxer. And they was like, well, you can't say that. So I said, why? They went, well, it's not on the list of jobs. I was like, well, that's what I'm going to be. And I was adamant because, as far as I was concerned, there was no questions, no ifs or buts. I'm going to be a professional boxer. So I knew from an early age, and you know, people talk about all the time about having a backup plan. You know, oh, you need a safety blanket, you need something to fall back on. But I don't agree with that, because I think if you have a backup plan, first of all, you don't trust enough in your first plan, and second of all, the first time you fail, you'll go, right, I'm gonna revert to my backup plan. Like when I turned professional, they sort of fast tracked me. I had 9 fights in the first 12 months. Within 18 months, I was doing a 12-rounder, and I lost for the same reason I lost my first amateur fight. I ran out of gas. But if I'd have had a backup plan, then I would have never have gone on and achieved what I did, because at that point in time, I was in a bad place. I didn't really have faith in myself as a fighter, because my confidence was dented. I'd have reverted to my backup plan. So I don't think backup plans are good.
Do you remember sort of your amateur days fondly? Were you enjoying them? Were you eager to turn pro? What was the sort of process? You said, you know, when you turned pro you got fast tracked, but the process of actually turning pro?
I think it was bittersweet for me, the amateurs. I loved them. You know, they're the best times of your life when you're a kid, and my son's having his first fight next week, and I've been having these conversations with him saying, you're going to love this, even though it's nerve-wracking and, you know, there's heartbreak along the way. They're the best times of your life. But at that point in time, my style didn't suit the amateurs. It was very much sort of the old England style, upright, counter-punching type style, computer scoring at the time as well. So they didn't like my style. So you know, I had some really good wins. By the time I was getting to like 18 years old, I'd beat the American number 2, the Canadian number 1, the Dutch number 1. I stopped a kid who was ranked number 4 in England in the first round with a body shot. I had loads of good wins. I beat the Scottish #1, and they just never even get me down for a squad training in the England setup. And every time my coach asked Ian Irwin, who was running the setup at the time, he'd always say, "Oh, you know, I've not seen enough of him." And like when I beat the kid who'd been on the England squads, when I stopped him in the first round, he was saying, "Oh, I didn't really see enough of him then." And it's like, what more can you do? And then I got a really bad decision in the ABAs when I was 19. Went to Liverpool, boxed Carwall, who was a real good fighter, but I won it, and everyone in the arena knew I'd won it, and they gave it Carl, and I remember at that moment in time just going, the amateurs isn't it for me? I'm going to turn pro, and I had 2 more fights as an amateur and then turned professional.
Does that sort of experience from the amateurs make you hesitant, and are you warning your son about the potentials of that? Because that's happening. It happens a lot in the amateurs.
It does happen a lot, and I think it builds character. Though it makes you more resilient, because I don't know. It's like setbacks, even though they're maybe not legitimate setbacks. They make you mentally stronger, make you more determined, and obviously if people are off put by it, then maybe that's a sign that they've maybe not made out of what it takes to be successful in boxing. So I don't know whether my son's going to have what it takes, but I'm just proud of the fact that he's actually got the knackers about him to actually turn around. He doesn't have to fight. You know, don't forget, we come from backgrounds. The vast majority of fighters come from backgrounds where you fight because you have to. It's out of desperation. Like I knew. I had this conversation last week actually. So when I was a kid, we didn't have central heating. So the only place what was warm in the house in the winter was the living room, because we had a gas fire. And I always remember being sat around the fire with my mum and dad. We'd push the couch closer to the fire and we'd sit on the couch, and then by the time it was going, my mum would go, "Right, bedtime now." So we'd sort of stand at the door waiting, and we'd sort of go 1, 2, 3 and open the door and run upstairs, and like you'd be dithering, freezing, and like brush your teeth quick and then jump in bed, and then it'd take you 5 minutes and you'd be like shaking under the covers until your body heat sort of got warm under the quilts. And I always remember lay there thinking, when I'm older, I'm going to be a world champion because I can have central heating in my house, because I thought you had to be rich to have central heating in your house. So I've had this conversation with my son now, because of obviously he's having his first fight, and I'm saying it might actually be more of a sort of positive on your about his personality, because he doesn't have to fight. He's not doing it out of desperation. He's doing it out of the want to do it. I did it partially because of desperation, because that was my sort of window of opportunity to try and get out of that situation. I thought in my mind, he doesn't need that. He's had a privileged life growing up. So that's why I always talk about Campbell Hatton. You know, Campbell Hatton, you've got to take your hat off to him, because you know he's in many ways he's much more privileged than my son, but he's still got the drive and determination to get up every day and push himself to the limit and strive to be the best in the toughest sport that you can be in. So you've got to give him credit for it, and that's why I've got a lot of admiration for my son for just getting off his backside and doing it, because he doesn't have to do it.
And in a way harder, because there's added pressure to him because of the name that they carry, the sons of former champion fighters carry. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, he won't be under the same microscope as Campbell is, but he'll definitely be under more pressure than your average fighter will be. But I suppose again that builds character and makes you more resilient.
Well, looking back to when you turned pro, so you said, you know, fast tracked, you had quite a lot of fights, progressed. We'll talk about the first defeat that you had quite early on. So Scott Dixon, that defeat, what did that do for you in terms of your career? Was that a turning point for your career? It was at that point you started working with Oliver Harrison?
Yeah, Oliver had been helping. So Steve Foster was my main coach and Oliver was helping us out. So Oliver was in the corner with us when I got beat off Scott. And to be fair to all, he always used to be... I used to love doing pad work with him anyway, before he became the main coach. And he was always saying, you do too much, you train too hard, slow down, relax. And at that point in time, I was obsessed with just making sure training hard, because I thought that more was better. And I found out it wasn't, and sort of technique and skill and game plans and tactics was all more important a lot of the time than just being fit and strong. And the lessons what I got from the Scott Dixon fight was the best ones I ever took in boxing, still to this day. A lot of them, because you realise you learn so much about yourself when you lose, not just in that moment, but in the days and the weeks and the months afterwards, because you ask yourself horrible questions what you would never say out loud, and I'm only able to speak about them now because it doesn't matter to me now. I don't care. I've got no ego. I'm not trying to be some tough guy. Whereas when you fight her, you're trying to give across this personality of, I don't care and I'm tough and stuff, and it's fucking stupid, really. But it's the way life is. You have to have that mindset as a fighter to put yourself in that position. But I sort of sat there after the Scott Dixon fight watching it, and it broke me out watching it, and I was sort of questioning myself, going, could you have tried harder there? Could you have dug deeper? And being brutally honest, I was overtrained. I was tired. I'd not done the weight properly. I didn't really understand properly about nutrition and stuff. But Oliver was right. If I'd have got it better tactically, and I'd have not gone out the gates quicker, and basically, if I'd have listened more instead of sort of thinking I knew it all myself, then I could have done a lot better. So I answered a lot of questions in those horrible hours where you lay in bed going to sleep at night and you can't sleep because you're fucking driving yourself mad, going, why didn't I listen? Why didn't I do this? I could have won that fight. And I know I could have won the fight if I'd have done it in the right way. But the lessons what I took from it. So afterwards, I was in Fight of the Year 3 times, and the 2 I won, I would never have won those fights if it wasn't for the lessons what I took from the Scott Dixon fight. So you can't sort of have regrets or look back and go, I wish that had not happened, because if it didn't happen, then I'd have lost fights at a bit bigger level, a higher level, on a bigger stage further down the line. So
after that fight, you then became, Oliver Harrison, the late Oliver Harrison, became your full-time coach. How did that come about, and what did that sort of do to your career from that point? You had to come back from the loss. What happened there?
So, Steve, I really felt I'd become disheartened with boxing. I was just sort of going, I'm just going to fight for the money now. I'm just going to get paid for it. Asked Steve to put me on a show somewhere, and he got me on a show. And Steve Foster had sort of turned around to me and said, listen, I don't want to coach people anymore. We was very close friends as well, and he said, it broke me out what's just happened. It's too emotional for me. So I'd started training with Joe Gallagher. Joe Gallagher was just turning pro from the amateurs himself. It didn't work out. I think personalities didn't really gel properly. So I walked out of the gym that day, and we was training in Salford, and it was just round the corner from Oliver's gym. So I just drove round the corner and went in the gym, and I was there, and I said, do me a favour, I'm boxing in a few weeks' time. I need someone to do my corner. Will you do my corner for me? And he was like, Jay, listen, why don't you let me train you? And I was like, and honestly, I was like, I'm not asked. I'm really not bothered. I'm just doing it for a bit of money to make ends meet. And he said, I promise you, if you let me coach you, I'll make you at least a European champion. I never forget the words what he said. And I went, do you think? And I didn't believe in myself at all at that point in time. And he went, I promise you. He said, I know you've got it in you. You just need to be brought out here. So I said, right, okay. So I'll start training here with you. And within the first couple of weeks, it was like an awakening, sort of just those little. I was so fortunate to be on my own with him for years after that, for a couple of years, which is worth probably 10 years in itself. But just those first few weeks of just being on our own in the gym, and him just speaking to me about tactics and sort of positioning and why you would do a certain thing in a certain situation. So I remember him going to me, defend yourself. So I said, he went, go on. He said, put your hands up and defend yourself. So I just took my hands up. So he said, that's not defending yourself. So we started letting shots go, and he went, that's not defending yourself, that's blocking. And I was thinking, that's the same fucking thing, innit? He went, throw punches at me. So I started throwing punches, and so he's like sort of slipping, sliding, moving, rolling around, and I barely landed a punch on him. He went, that's defending yourself. He said, if you could defend yourself properly, you'd have got through those little situations against Scott Dixon, and you'd have been fine, because you're fit as a fiddle. Your recovery was there. You just need to know when to use it. He said, so you need to get your tactics right, and that was one of his old sayings. Get your tactics right. That's what you need to do, get your tactics right. And as the months went on, I started to understand he was a genius. He was an absolute tactical genius. I always get upset with it. When I think about them times, because I was so fucking lucky to spend that amount of one-to-one quality time with him. It's like immeasurable, the amount I took from that time with him.
And just to make you a bit more emotional, we'll talk about it now while you're already emotional. You are now training his son, as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I've said this in the past. It's a beautiful story in one way, and it's fucking heartbreaking in another, because the only thing I want is for Al to be here.
And Lerone, he was in the gym earlier. We saw him, and the fact that you can train him, you're able to do that for him, must mean a lot.
I want him to be here for Lerone. Anyway, forget boxing, fuck boxing. I want him to be here for his family. But from a boxing point of view, I want him to be here for Lerone, because Lerone was in the gym with us at 6-7 years old, and so I've seen him nurture him and develop him and turn him into the young man he was. And God, for Lerone to go through what he had to go through at that age, it's such an important age, sort of 16 years old and you 17 years old, and you've just left high school, and they had a plan. He was going to leave college and have another year in the amateurs and then turn pro, and then all that sort of got put to one side because his dad was sick, and then he just really didn't know what to do. And I spoke to his mum. His mum was sort of trying to say to me, you need to get him in the gym, he's not doing nothing, he's not training, he's not doing stuff. And I was sort of like, you know what, Sharon, I get where you're coming from, but he needs time. Time's a healer, and he'll do it off his own back. I'm sure he will. You just got to give him that bit of time, and he did. He came in the gym, walked in one day. He texted me, said, "Can I come down?" I came down, had a chat with him, and there's where we are. And like I say, it's a horrible story, but I'm so glad I'm in a position to be able to help him out, because I promised his dad I would, and I will. And again, forget about boxing. If he was a joiner and I was an electrician, I'd be going out my way to try and help him anyway. But I feel very fortunate to be in a position that he can come and be with us every day, and he's in a gym full of terrific fighters who he can learn from as well, because he needs that type of support, because he's not got that male sort of role model around him.
How much of what you learnt from Oliver do you use in everyday training with your team?
I'd say 70% of what I do now is the core value of everything I teach. The rest of it is just my own experience, what I've picked up over the last sort of 8 years now I've been coaching, maybe 9. God, that's gone quick. It feels like it's gone like that, but yeah, the core values of it all are everything what I learned off Oliver, because it worked for me, and And in many ways, I think a lot of people overcomplicate things. Everyone tries to sound too smart, you know, especially you lay a coach in the corner and they don't stop talking. And you know, it's all trigger words and whatever they said 20 seconds ago, the fighter won't remember what they've just said anyway, because they still listen to what they're saying. And he always used to say, keep it simple. You don't overcomplicate it. By the time you get into the 6th, 7th, 8th round and you're tired, you ain't going to be able to think about it. You just have to do it. So any instructions got to be short and sharp. And when I listen to myself in the corner sometimes, I just remind myself of him because of the words. I always use it, trigger words. He always used to say, I always try and make a word up what no one else will understand, so that only me and you understand. So when I'm asking you to do it, you know what I'm asking for, but no one else knows, because obviously your opponent is listening as well. So, and I still do that to this day.
Wow. Well, we have spoke about that. So coming off that defeat, you're now full-time with Oliver. And then now comes the sort of big fights that you are remembered for. We'll talk first of all about the 3 Michael Jones fights. So first one, obviously you won, British Commonwealth champion. The second one was disqualification, you got disqualified for. Third one, you win and you get the British title. What do you remember of those fights? You know, 3 great fights, second one not so good. How do you look back at those fights and remember them?
Well, first of all, to be involved in a trilogy and people talking about it at the time, it's sort of the type of stuff what you want to be involved in when you turn pro. So you had this idea in your head of, you know, I want to box on TV, I was boxing on Sky. And to create a sort of rivalry, it takes another person as well. So Michael Jones was around my weight division, Olympic, I think he was Olympic junior gold medalist, turned pro, big, tall, rangy kid, but I was always good with them type of fighters because I was a pressure fighting southpaw, which are always harder to deal with. A good body puncher, so anyone who was tall and rangy, I loved fighting that type of person. And the fight I took the fight at 5 days' notice. When I won the British title, I took it at 5 days' notice, and I'm a big believer in fate. I believe everything happens for a reason, and you just got to make sure you're ready. You know, you're in the right place at the right time. I boxed on Sky about 6 or 7 weeks before, and I didn't box great. I was sort of very flat. Don't really know why, and I got a bit of a slagging on Sky. So my ego was bruised, and I'd gone away. I'd got some nutrition advice again. And I really knuckled down training wise, and I was boxing on the undercard in a 6-rounder, and I don't know why, I just had this feeling. So, and this is what I'm talking about I believe everything happens for a reason. It was fate. The universe was manoeuvred things, and I kept saying to Oliver, do you know what, Paul Samuels is going to pull out of this fight. I know he is, because he pulled out of a few fights over the few years before it. I said, and if he does, and they asked me to step in, I'm having it. And he was like, and I always remember he was going, listen, you're ready, you're fit. If they step in, so you know, you're only training for a 6-rounder, but you're the best shape you've been in. And I was. And it was because of the comments of the commentators before, sort of kicked me up the arse. And Steve Wood rang me on the Monday, so it's Monday morning, I'm boxing on the Saturday. I'd just finished training, I was having my dinner, and he said, let me put this to you and see what you think. And I went, Samuels is out, innit? And he went, how do you know? And I went, I fucking knew it. I knew he was going to pull out. And he went, what do you think? I went, 100%. Do you want me to fight Michael Jones? He went, yeah. I went, definitely, no doubt. I rang my missus in work and said, guess what? I'm fighting for the British title on Saturday. She went, fuck off. I said, I'm telling you. She went, how come? So I tells her the story. And she went, how much are you getting paid? I went, fuck, I have no idea. I didn't even ask, and I didn't, because I didn't care. It wasn't about the money. I always wanted to be British champion. I always wanted to own that Lonsdale belt, and then when it was the only fight in my whole professional career where I never had one negative doubt. Never had one doubt in my mind I was going to win that fight. I was always very positive anyway, because I'd sort of learned to control my thoughts, but everyone has them little niggling doubts, and then you sort of go, right, piss off now, you know, I'm going to win this fight. Never once did I doubt myself in that fight, because I knew, I don't know why, I just knew I was going to win.
And you did win. You did, became British and Commonwealth champion. You said, you know, you'd always wanted the British title. Was that the one that meant the most to you, do you think?
Yeah, still does now. You know, so I didn't know until the final bell that I was the first British champion in 100 years from Salford. So Steve Foster, my old trainer, jumped in the ring and told me straight after. None of them told me on purpose because they didn't want to put pressure on me. And I'm glad, because that probably would have added to it. So he told me, you're the first British champion in 100 years, and you're the only one to have the Lonsdale belt, because then the guy was called Joe Bowker and there was no belts. So the last British champion from Salford. So I'm the only person from Salford still to this day who's got a Lonsdale belt. So literally I could have walked away from boxing then and been happy. I wouldn't have kept the Lonsdale belt because you got to defend it 3 times. But at that moment in time, I would have walked away going, I've achieved miles more than anybody expected me to achieve, myself including that. So I would have been happy to walk away then.
So on a high, obviously, from that, let's talk about the second fight with Michael Jones. You were disqualified.
Yeah.
Just sort of go over that fight.
So there was a lot of needles. After the first fight, Michael Jones was sort of saying, you know, I had a bad night, he's not fit to lace me boots. It was because I came in late notice and I was a southpaw and blah, blah, blah. And he was really disrespectful, never gave me any credit whatsoever. So I had the ump about that. And I boxed a couple of times in between, made a couple of defences, and they were sort of talking about me as... I remember Ian Dark saying, like, I'm probably the biggest, the best prospect in British boxing at this point in time. So I've gone from everyone talking about me in a negative light, going, he was overrated, you know, he's not going to do anything. Scott Dixon, if you can't beat Scott Dixon, where's he going to go? 4 fights later, I've won the British title. And then I've made 2 defences. Everyone's talking about me in a positive light. So I lost. So I defended my Commonwealth title, and I was injured. I shouldn't have boxed. But I was getting married, and I tried to convince myself I was okay because I needed the money, and my hip was really bad. It got to the point where I was sort of going, you know what, I'll probably get through this, I'll be alright, and it didn't. It went during the fight, so I lost. He's down on my record as a stoppage. The referee pulled me out of the fight because I wasn't fit to continue. Right, it was the right decision. Then Michael Jones is my mandatory, so it's come full circle. He's now my mandatory, and I've gone into the fight, and I knew I had his number. Psychologically, I knew I had him where I wanted him as well, because he was always sort of really cool and calm, and you could see he was ruffled and he was sort of hyped up. And the fight, I started the fight basically the way I finished the first fight, was getting into my rhythm, and I hit him as the referee shouted stop boxing. And I mean, it's on YouTube, if you watch it back you'll see it. There's no way I could have stopped the punch from going. He went down, and I still to this day don't understand why the referee didn't give him 5 minutes. He gave him a minute or so and then just sort of waved the fight off. And Ray Farrell, who was his trainer, who was my trainer for my first 5 fights as it goes, was heckling the ref, going, he's hitting with an illegal punch, he needs to be disqualified. And all the commentary team was sort of talking, going, Jamie Moore wins the Lonsdale belt outright and under bizarre circumstances, blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of minutes afterwards, Steve Wood comes walking over to me and said, you've been disqualified. I was like, what? Why? And he said, you've hit him with an illegal shot. So then I've gone from being on cloud 9. I wasn't even happy about the way the fight ended, actually, but I thought, I've got the Lonsdale belt, I can move on from sort of British level now. And then I've gone from that point to, it now turns out I'm on 2 losses on the trot. Going from being called the next best British prospect coming through. So earlier we were talking about character building and building resilience and stuff like that. Again, then I'm at the point where I'm going, what do I do? Yeah, so I always believed that my style was suited to sort of, in America I thought they'd appreciate my style, and I kept saying to Steve Wood, why don't we get over to America and box over there. I think they'll appreciate it. So we started to make plans to go over there. So I was down to do a 10-rounder. The guy's name escapes me. It was a good fight. It was going to be on ESPN. And Steve rang me and said, right, Barry Earns just rang, and Michael Jones, you're now Michael Jones's mandatory. So I was like, how does that work? So bear in mind, I'd gone to the British Boxing Board of Control to a meeting to sort of plead my innocence, and I said, listen, there's no way I should have been disqualified. I think they realised they'd made a mistake because they fined me 500 quid, which is the minimum fine you can have, yet installed me as mandatory challenger. Who gets disqualified and loses a fight and then gets made mandatory challenger? Doesn't make sense. But I said, listen, I'm not complaining. So we pulled out of the fight in America, and then about 10 weeks later we boxed Michael Jones again in the third fight, which ended up being fight of the year because he put me down twice in the third round, and he nearly had me out. And that was probably more down to my eagerness, because the roles had reversed, and where he had that hatred for me and was sort of pent up aggression, what I could see in him, I had in myself. And it wasn't just because of that. There was personal issues going on. My nana was really sick in the hospital, and she passed away the day before the weigh-in. So it was really tough sort of times for us all as a family. But me personally, having to overcome them mental barriers and getting there, I just wanted to kill him. And my own over-eagerness was nearly my undoing.
But you did get the win, and you were British champion again, and that was a fight of the year, which you ended up having 3 of in your career. I think you're the only boxer to have ever done that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because I was retired at 31, I think. I just turned 31. I always thought I wouldn't have a long career because of my style of fighting. I know pressure fighters who are always sort of exciting don't have long careers, and I always said I want to be done when I'm 30. Not for any other reason, just for my own health and well-being, because I understand the dangers of boxing. It's the most dangerous sport in the world, so I didn't want to go on too long. My brain scan changed, basically. I was in fight of the year 3 times, and my brain scan changed twice. The second time it changed, so they tell you, they inform you it changes, but they sort of go, there's nothing serious. It can be a natural change, which when I went for a meeting with a specialist afterwards, it's true, it can be a natural change. But he basically said to me, listen, let's be brutally honest. You've been a professional fighter for 10 years. You've been boxing for 17 years. You've been fight of the year 3 times, not including other wars what you've been in as well. Let's not beat around the bush. This is probably caused from boxing. I'm not saying you're going to have problems later on, but the longer you stay involved in boxing in terms of fighting, the more probability that later on in your life you'll have problems. So my advice is to get out of boxing as soon as possible. So I feel like I'm quite an intelligent person, and my son was off school. He had an ear infection, so I'd had to take him with me. And I just sort of went, so this is on a Tuesday, and I'm boxing on the Saturday on the undercard to David A and Andy Ruiz. So I just sort of went, right, okay. And I looked at Mikey, and he sort of went and shrugged his shoulders like that. So he's like 5 or 6 or whatever. And the look on his face, I just thought to myself, it's not even worth it. So come out of the hospital, rang Colleen, and I told her the story, and I said, I'm going to box on Saturday, and that's me done. So I went to the gym, told Oliver the same story, and he said, yeah, I think it's a good choice, that. So, and we boxed on the Saturday, and it's the only fight I've ever had where I was in there thinking, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, why are you in this ring now? And I was just trying to get through it. I wasn't trying to win, just trying to get through it. And it ended up a little bit of a slog. The 5th and 6th rounds, we ended up having a bit of a to do. And I was feeling fucking really sorry for myself. I remember walking back to the corner, I sort of slumped on the stool. And Oliver, so me and him knew each other that well. We could have a conversation without even speaking to each other, and he could tell what I was thinking. I was thinking, I don't want to fucking be here, but I would never have said it. And he gave me the full minute, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "Stand up." He went, "Big deep breath." And he always used to say that when it was the tough fight. So I took a big deep breath, and he went, "That's it, we're done." So I said, "What do you mean?" And he went, "That's it, we're done." I took my gum shield out, and he just turned around to the ref and waved it off. And I just went, I remember thinking, thank fuck for that. and so he saved me from myself, because even though I didn't want to be there, I would never have quit. But he knew, and he saved me from having to make that sort of decision myself. So I'll be forever grateful, because there was 2 rounds left. It was an 8-rounder, and I don't know what would have happened in them 2 rounds. So.
Well, yeah, that was your retirement. In a way, a nice time that you decided you weren't forced to retire. You sort of decided your scans had come back, not the same as they had been, but you got the choice then.
Yeah, exactly. It was on my terms, and I always wanted to retire and never come back. That was one of the things. I didn't realise how difficult it is until you do it. Within the first 2 years is always the worst, I feel, and I've spoke to a few fighters now who've retired, and I've tried to sort of give them a bit of advice on that, because the first 2 years is definitely the most difficult, because you're still in that fighter's mindset. And I've described it in the past as you're like Superman and Clark Kent. That's the only way you can describe it. It's like when you're a fighter, you feel superhuman, and you'll fight anybody because you believe you can beat anybody, and that's the mindset you've got to have. As time goes on, you start to realise you're just a normal person, really, and the more you go away from that feeling of being indestructible and superhuman, the less you want it, the less you need that feeling. And I'm nearly 44 now. The older I've got, the more relaxed I've got, and the more mellow I've got. And I've never really had a big ego anyway, but it's gone even more so in the opposite direction, because the older I've got, I don't see the point in it. I just sort of go, I'm trying to prove myself to you. For what? So that I can get inside your mind, and you go away and go, "Oh, he's got one over on me." I don't see the point. I'd rather make someone feel better now. That I've got to that point in my life where I'd rather lift someone up than try and get one over him. Do you understand what I mean? So, and I think that they're some of the things what I've learned from boxing. I've been humbled so many times from a position of not wanting to be humbled, that I feel like I'd rather be in that position now all the time, because it's not a nice feeling having your ego bruised is not a nice feeling at all.
Well, you did retire and get into training then. We haven't actually spoke about the second fight of the year, but you got into training, and you actually started training Matthew Macklin, who was your second fight of the year fight, and that is the fight that still to this day people are watching. Yeah. Day in, day out. A fantastic fight.
Every fighter, again, I think when you turn professional, you want a career-defining fight, a fight where people recognise you for it. I always said this. I knew Matt was, even at that stage, I was past British level, really. I was only hanging around with the British title because that was my only guarantee of earning a good purse. At the time, they wouldn't let you top a bill on Sky without a title on the line. So I had to keep hold of the British title, and I was past that level. And even Matt at that young age was better than British level. But my ego was the only reason that fight happened, because Steve was sort of coming back and forward to me. Brian Peters had been on the phone to him saying, "Listen, when's Jamie giving the British title up? We need to know, because we're trying to plan Matt's career," which I understand. And Steve was like, "Listen, we can't give it up because it's his only guarantee." And Brian had said something along the lines of, "Well, listen, if he doesn't give it up, he's going to have to fight Matt." So Steve's relaying this message to me, and I've gone, "What do you mean I'm going to have to fight him? Does he think I'm fucking scared of him or something?" And he went, No, he didn't mean it like that." And I just went, "Nah, fuck this, I'm fighting him then." And he's going, please, Jay, this ain't the right move. No. And I went, Steve, I don't care what you say. We're taking that fight now, that's it. So I've ended up taking a fight which I knew was going to be a hard fight for 30 grand. And Matt got 15 grand. So the total purses of that fight was 45 grand. And of a fight, what I knew, if you look back, you can see in the archives in interviews what I did before it, I told everyone, I promise you this will be fight of the year, probably fight of the year in the world, because I know how our styles are going to blend. I'd seen Matt training so many times in Billy Graham's gym, so I sort of knew him inside out, even though him coming up behind me and he'd seen me in more fights, they've got a better insight into me than either of them, but I sort of knew him, and I knew how Billy trains fighters, so I knew the type of fight it was going to be, and it actually exceeded even my expectations, even though I remember in the 6th round being in one of the little exchanges what we was in where we was going to and fro, when I sort of went, in my mind I remember thinking, wow, this is some fucking fight, and that was during the fight, even that was in about the 6th round, yeah. So and then it actually got more intense from that point on. So 6, 7, 8, 9 was ridiculous rounds. So but I'm proud of the fact that I've been involved in a fight like that, because it's what everyone dreams of being involved in. You don't know whether you're going to be able to get through a fight like that until you're in it. I remember Tommy Coyle when he first came here training with us, and we sat. It was before he fought Brizuela as well, so timing wise it couldn't have happened any better. See, fate. We sort of sat there in the ring, and he said, that fight with you and Macklin, I was watching it this morning. He said, do you think I'll be able to do that? And I went, Tommy, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows if you can do that, if your body can go through it until you're in the situation. And 5 weeks later, is 8 knockdowns in a fight with Brizuela, and when he got dropped twice in the 6th, I think it was, he came back to the corner and he sat down. I could see his body language was giving me the wrong vibe. He was feeling sorry for himself, and I sort of hit him under the chin, and I said, oi, I said, do you remember that conversation we had the other week? I said, this is that fucking fight now. Are you going to be able to do it? And he just nodded his head like that, and I said, so I hit him again. I went, oi, I said, are you going to fucking do this or what? And he went, yeah. I went, well, fucking come on then. And then went out the next round and fucking had it with him, dropped him, and then ended up winning and stopping him in the 12th round. So God knows what would have happened in that fight if we'd not have had that conversation. So fate.
How does it come about then from that fight to then you retire and then start training Macklin?
Well, I was treading water, waiting for a European title shot. Nothing seemed to have happened, and to be fair, it was no one else's fault also, because I had bad shoulder problems. I had in that period of time, from the Macklin fight to the time I retired, I had 4 operations. So it was the end of 2006 and I retired early 2010. So within 3.5 years, I had 4 operations and I still fought 8 times, which is insane. When I look at the time scale, I was basically having surgery, doing rehab, boxing, having surgery, doing rehab, boxing. So I definitely couldn't get proper form. Also in that time, I think I outgrew the weight as well, because I had inactivity in between. I'd sort of got bigger. So by the time I fought for the European title, it was vacant. I boxed the next world champion in Picarillo and it was probably one of my best performances, but I was dead at the weight. So, and I won with a 3rd round stoppage, but I don't know what would have happened if that fight would have gone on 5, 6, 7 rounds. Luckily, I won in the 3rd, made a quick defence, and then Ryan Rhodes was rated highly in the WBC. He was sort of had like an Indian summer, so he'd been sort of retired and then came back. He'd won the British title, what I used to have, and then Steve Wood said, what about boxing Ryan Rhodes in a eliminator for the world title, and the winner then will get to fight for the title? And I said, okay, that sounds good to me. I'd actually made a decision to move up, and then Steve said, if we can get this fight, do you fancy? And I went, right, okay. And everyone thinks, you know what, I'll just give myself 2 or 3 more weeks making the weight, and I'll do it better this time. I actually ended up bigger, and I lost £20 in 20 hours. I mean, it's a horrendous story about like the period of time leading up to the fight. I didn't eat anything except I had a bowl of porridge in the morning, and then chicken and spinach 3 times a day for 3 weeks before the fight, and I was still £20 over the night before the fight. So I'm walking around now. I have to do it in stones because I have to do it in old money. So I'm about 13.8, 13.9, and I was coming down from that, and I got down. So I was 12 stone 5 the night before the weigh-in. So it was 19 pounds, 12.5 and a half I was. So 19 and a half pounds over, and I nearly died. I swear, making the weight, I nearly died. And all the way through, Ryan Rhodes and Dave Colwell was saying, he's dead at the weight, he'll never make the weight, and if he doesn't make weight, we're not fighting him. So Kerry Kays was obviously going to me, Jamie, you can't make this weight, he's dangerous. And I was going, Kerry, I need the money, and I know they won't fight if I don't make weight, so I've got to make weight. And I did it. And that's why I have no sort of sympathy for people when they get on the scales and they're fucking half a pound over or a pound over, because I've been there, I've done it, I know what it's like, and that was horrendous. Like I took 11.5 pound off the night before, and I had like a rehydration sachet and a little drink just to get me electrolytes and salts back in. Went to sleep, woke up the next day, and then got the rest off. It's like 8.5 pound the next day, and that took about 5.5 hours to get off. It was fucking horrendous.
And must have affected your performance in the fight. I mean, it was a fantastic fight. Your third fight of the year, that one, but you didn't win.
No, I didn't. Ryan Rhodes beat me fair and square, and we'll never know how the weight did or didn't affect me, because I went from 12.5 and a half to 11 stone, to the next day I was 12 stone 10. So that's nearly 2 stone overnight. Ryan Rhodes would have been a stone lighter than me. So even though it might have affected my performance, he's still got somebody in there who's a big, strong fucking guy who's 10 pound, 14 pound heavier than him. So, and I don't know whether he'd have done that to me if I was feeling fresh. So I never want to make an excuse about the weight, because I don't think it's fair. It takes away the fact that Ryan Rhodes, at his age and stage of his career, when no one gave him a chance, got in there and fucking turned me over. You know, I was absolutely devastated at the time, but in hindsight, looking at it from their point of view, that's a fucking great story.
And it was a great fight. It was a great fight.
It was. I think the 7th round, when I got put down at the beginning of the 7th round, and then I got up, and then I've spoke to Dave since actually about it, and they knew what I did to get through those little pockets of problems where I go to the ropes and I sort of lure them in, and what Oliver taught me, sort of getting through those moments, what I didn't do in the Scott Dixon fight. And then I used to let them come in, and then I'd let them walk into shots, and they knew, so they was waiting for it. But I got him twice, and I sort of shook him badly, and then unfortunately he caught me, and that was it. But listen, fight of the year is fight of the year. It takes 2 again to tango, and I won 2 of them, so I'm alright. If I was in fight of the year 3 times and I lost them all, then I'd be fucking gutted. But one out of 3 is not bad.
So then comes the retirement and the training, Matthew Macklin.
Yeah, so I trained Tommy for the Derry Matthews fight, and I only did it as a favour. I never wanted to get involved in training, and it was nothing that I ever had an ambition to do. Steve Wood kept asking me to do it, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. It's like a babysitting job, and it is like a babysitting job. But
with Tommy Coyle is out.
Well, with Tommy, fucking hell, yeah, proper job with Tommy. But you know what? I love him like a son, because of obviously that journey that eventually led us on. But they came walking round here in this gym. I was there doing some PTs with people. Steve walks in, he said, Tommy needs a trainer, he's fighting Derry Matthews, and he threw it on my toes in front of him. He went, why don't you just have a little work together for a few days and see how it goes. So we did, and then I said, right, I tell you what, I'll help you for this fight, and then we'll see how it goes. And then that was it. The rest is history. We did that fight. He got beat off Derry, and he was upset in the changing rooms. And we'd sort of said, we'll just do this fight, and then we'll see how it goes. And he was saying to me in the changing rooms, "You'll still train me now, won't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'll still train you." And then so I met Matt in Manchester. I got him to sign as a picture on the poster of our fight in the office. I wanted him to sign it for me, and I'd seen that he was back in Manchester training at Joe's, and so I met up with him in the Arndale Centre. We had a coffee, and I felt a bit sorry for him, to be honest, because he was sort of saying, "Fuck, I'm sick of living out of a suitcase. Never trained from home. I've been out in Marbella, been in America, back here at Joe's." So my missus was doing tea, and I sort of messaged her saying, "Listen, don't do me any tea. I feel sorry for Matt. I'm going to stay out with him for a bit and we'll go for some food." So went back. My missus is like Mystic Meg. I promise you, she calls it all the time. So I gets home, tells her the story, and she went, "I bet he asked you to train him." So I trained Tommy Coyle as a favour, that's it. So why would Macklin ask me to train him? She went, "I don't know, I just got this feeling." So the week after, I get a direct message on Twitter. So I changed my phone number in that time, in that week, saying, "Hi mate, try to get hold of you, and it's not going through. Give us a ring, Matt Macklin." So I rang him up and he went, "Hi mate." He went, "Listen, what do you think about training me?" So I was like, this is fucking mad. My missus said this to me last week when I came back. He said, "What it is, I've got that gym over in Marbella now, and I want to be based over there, and I want someone to come over there and train." So I said, it's hard for me, that, Matt, because they're the kids, because I've always been really close with my kids. He said, "I know that, I understand that. I've already spoke about this, but if you'll do it, I'll fly you out on a Monday morning and fly you home on a Friday, so that you can have the weekend with the kids. Do it for 6 weeks at a time." So I went, "Do you know what, let me have a think. I'll speak to Clean and see." So spoke to Clean, spoke to Sky, because I was doing work with Sky at the time. Got the sort of blessing off all them, and then that was it. Went over there and we had he boxed in Atlantic City. We had a 10-rounder in Atlantic City, and he took me to New York for the first time as well, which was over the moon about, and that was the sort of start of that.
And then since then, you've gone on to train a lot of top fighters. But before we talk about that, talking about flying back and forth, is it true that you did come home every weekend except for one weekend you stayed there, and that was the weekend that you got shot?
Yeah, so I'd gone back to do a training camp afterwards. He was boxing Daniel Gill in Texas, and we got through the whole training camp, and then I think it was May he was going to box him. Yeah, it was May. And I flew home. I was getting all my stuff ready. I woke up on the Saturday morning. So I was due to go back Marbella on the Monday, and then we was flying out from Marbella to America, and woke up saying the fight's off. So Gill had pulled out, and it turns out he'd got the Golovkin fight instead. So he'd pulled out the Macklin fight and gone for Golovkin. So for the next sort of month or so, couple of months, Max deciding what he's going to do. He signs with Eddie, and they plan a homecoming for him in the August. So when we was planning on going back to train, Matt had said, "Listen, there's no point coming out Monday because I'm in Dublin on Wednesday for the press conference. So why don't you just fly out on Wednesday, and then you could stay over weekend if you want, because it's Danny Vaughan's birthday and everyone's going out and staying." So I said, "Yeah, you know what, I'll do that." So stayed over the only weekend I ever spent in Marbella, and then yeah, someone come out and shot me in the middle of the night. So
what you remember of that? So you got shot twice.
3 times it was, yeah.
Did you get hit 3 times?
Yeah. So I got. So basically, what happened was we'd been out. I'm a shit drinker, so I got to the point where I'd had enough. Jumped to the cab, goes off on my own. Got to the house where we were staying and walked in the garden, and as I was walking through, someone just came out of behind the car and was pointing a gun at me, and I thought it was someone joking at first. So I just sort of went, fuck off. And then I turned back round because there was a few of us who was all living in the house together. I turned back around and I said, do you know, that's not even funny. And as I sort of turned to start walking to him, he shot me in the hip. So I went, by the way, it's in the middle of the night. I'm fucking pissed as well. So for what I can remember of it, it's very vague. So I just remember hitting the floor and then feeling my body shake. So I got shot through the leg and then through my shoulder, and then I heard him run. So he climb over a wall and then a car start up and drive off. So, but I knew. So I knew he'd gone, and then I had to ring my own ambulance. So I rang 999, thinking they'll tell me who to ring over here, because I didn't know the emergency number. And I didn't know when you ring any emergency number, whatever country you're in, on your phone, it'll ring that emergency number.
Oh right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. So I go straight through to the Spanish emergency services, and I said, listen, I've been shot, I'm bleeding. So I'm lay on the driveway and I was head facing down on a hill, and I could see all blood pouring down. It was like deep blood. And I said, listen, I'm bleeding heavily here. If you don't get to me soon, I'm going to die. So she was like, we need the address. And I said, I don't know the address. All I know is I'm in Estepona. I don't know anything else. So she put me on hold. And then I was sat there, and for a moment I thought it cut me off, and I was thinking, should I put it down? And then all of a sudden, somebody came on. This police officer came on the phone and said, "Sir, leave your phone on. We're going to trace your phone. We'll be there as soon as possible." And then fucking 20 minutes later, I was still lay there, and I heard the ambulance turning in the road, trying to find me, and they found me in the garden.
Did you think before the ambulance arrived that you were going to die in that moment?
Yeah, I was thinking, fuck, I'm never going to see my kids again. It was a horrible situation, and I kept sort of going in and out of consciousness. Obviously I was losing a lot of blood, so I remember thinking, just take deep breaths, because obviously trying to get as much oxygen in me as possible, because I was losing blood, and I must have passed out, because it was the sound of the ambulance, sort of the reversing noise, turning round in the road, because they must have been able to see that they was nearby, which woke me back up again. So, and I started shouting then. So I mean, God knows, I was behind a big high wall. So God knows if they'd have found me in time, if I'd have not woke up.
You seem fine now. What are the sort of long-term things you've got from that? Have you got any problems still?
So I've got a bullet in my hip, which they can't get out, which every time I get out of a car, it clicks. I've got nerve damage in my left leg, which obviously anybody who knows about proper nerve damage, it'll never be the same again. I'm so lucky to be able to walk. So what happened was, they opened the back of my leg up. I've got such a big scar on the back of my leg in Marbella, to see if the bullet had hit my nerve. And in Marbella they told me it hadn't. They said, listen, we've checked your nerve, it's fully intact, so in the next 3 or 4 weeks you'll start getting all the movement back in your leg. And then it never came. So after about 2.5 months, it never came back. So I was still, I had this foot thing on, I was still on crutches. And again, fate. Ricky Boylan from down London was up here training, and he had a hand injury. So I said, I know a hand specialist, I'll take you down there to see him. Goes down on my crutches, and Mike Hayton says, is your leg still bad? And I was like, yeah. They told me there was no problem with my nerve, but it's just still not working. And he said, that doesn't sound right. He said, what's the specialist saying over here? I said, I'm not under anyone over here, they've just signed me off. And he said, why? He said, that's not right. So he said, do you want to come to a super clinic? I said, what the fuck's a super clinic? And he said, 12 of the best surgeons in the UK meet up every 3 months at the FA base in Stoke. I'm one of them, and we're presented with cases of people who have been told there's nothing that they can do. He said, and a lot of the time there's something, one of us can help out. So I said, fucking course I do, yeah, I'll come to that. So I goes down there, and this physio assessed me for an hour. And he presented this case in front of all these specialists, and a guy called Dominic Power came, a nerve specialist, and he said, come down to the hospital in Birmingham next week. I'll go in with a camera. I think you've got scar tissue pressed on your nerve. So he goes in there with a camera, comes out. I woke up in the evening time, so he told me it'd take about 45 minutes. I woke up and he's like, I've made a mess of your leg. I went, what do you mean? He said, listen, your nerve was hanging on by a thread. He said, I don't know how they missed it in Marbella. He said, but I've had to cancel all my operations for the rest of the day. I've took a nerve, a sensory nerve out the back of your calf. I've grafted it in, I've rebuilt your nerve. I've double stitched it to make it extra tight, to give it a better chance of getting a signal through. But to be honest with you, when it's been that badly damaged, a nerve, it's very rare we're getting any success. So the year after, I went back. He said, your job is to try and move your foot. He said, it'll be frustrating. He said, the only way you get a signal through is from your brain to your foot and get the nerves going through. And it was the most frustrating thing ever. And for a year, I tried it. I went back there, and he went, listen, usually by now, there'd be something. It doesn't look like it's worked. So that was it. He said, I'm going to sign you off now. So I said, do you think I'll ever run? And he went, no, you'll never run. So, being a stubborn bastard, I just went, I better fucking do. And he went, listen, I hope you do. He said, but honestly, with a leg that badly damaged, I don't think it's safe, because your bones and stuff won't be able to take the impact. So 3 months later, every night I used to get a bath, because it was I suffered horrendous nerve pain for years, and the only thing what would make it go away was a hot bath. So every night, so this is 15 months after the operation, I'd get a hot bath and I'd sit in the bedroom and I'd try and move it. And I was laying on my bed on the phone trying to move it, and I could see my shin where the scar was just flickering like that. So I videoed it and I emailed it to him, and I said, we have liftoff. And he said, yeah, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Fucking hell, I'm emotional thinking about it now. And literally within a month, my toes started to move and stuff like that. So he'd said to me, I'm going to sign you off, but if you ever want to come back and see me, just book an appointment. So I booked an appointment for a year after the one what I'd had before, and went down there. So I'd had like a foot support made so I could run. So like a silicone foot support, which had gone in the last time I'd been to see him. So goes down there the year after, walked in, he said, hello, you alright? How's things? I said, alright, sound. He said, go on then, take it off. And I went, I ain't wearing it. And he was like, what? I went, I'm not wearing it. I said, I fucking told you, didn't I? And he was like, mate, do you know what? He said, soldiers and athletes always get better recovery because of your discipline and your mindset. He said, you just fucking refuse to think it. So, like, I can walk around now without a support, which he said I'd never do. And 3 years after it happened, I ran the Great North Run.
So from that, your recovery, do you have sort of rehab still that you're doing for it?
Yeah, so it cost me a fortune. So I have Claire Downs is my nerve physio. I found her by accident, fate. I was trying to get a physio through private hospital, and they was like, listen, we don't have anybody who specialises in nerve physio. And she sort of whispered to me, listen, there's a girl who's based in Cheadle called Claire Downs. If you search her online, she's a nerve only physio. I think she's the only one in the country. So luckily for me, it's like 20 minutes from my house. People come from all over the country to go and see her. So I started seeing her, and because she's the only nerve-only physio, she's expensive. So I have to see her every week because the nature of my injury, part of the muscles work in my leg and some of them don't. So I get a lot of tightness in the parts what do work. So she has to undo all the bad work what they do every week, and then by about day 5 or 6 it starts to get tight again, and then I'm back in there again. But it's money well spent because honestly she's an absolute godsend.
And now you are a full-time trainer to some top boxers in this gym, males and females. You've got Chantal Cameron in here as well. How rewarding is it, the fact that you're producing such an amazing gym?
Do you know what? It's the next best thing. I never thought I'd sort of find something to replace that adrenaline rush or that feeling of winning. And also it's rewarding in the sense that I know how difficult this sport is. It's the most cutthroat, brutal sport going. So, and a lot of the time, it's the psychological side of it. It's the not knowing, and when no one's telling you stuff off, giving you information about what's going on, that's the most frustrating thing from a fighter's point of view. So I feel like I'm not just a boxing coach for my fighters. I'm like an agony aunt in many ways, and you know I'm very clued up on nutrition as well, so I feel like I've got a lot of boxes to tick in that sense. But I feel like from a psychological point of view, I benefit my fighters more than anything because I know them. I feel like I know them inside out. I can read them. I know what's going on through the mind. And this I think this sport more than any is more psychological. Once you get past that point of you know how to box and we sort of get an idea of the level you're at and how good you are, it's then about the psychology of it and getting you ready. And boxing at the highest level, I feel, is more like psychological warfare more than the actual physicality of it. And if you can get past that bit, then you know, like Chantal, for instance. Chantal, I feel like I get the best out of her because I understand her, and Chantal is so dedicated to this sport. She'd be very, very easy to overtrain because she'll just do it. She'll just go and go and go and go. And now I know her. You know, she's been here over 4 years now. I know when to push her and when to hold her back. And like today, I've said to her, just you don't want to do anything today, really. She you know, we're 2.5 weeks out from the fight, and she's nearly ready. So I'm holding her back. Whereas I feel like a lot of coaches might keep pushing her and pushing her because they'll feel like she'll get better, whereas she'd actually get worse. So, and from a psychological point of view, I understand her. So in the changing rooms, you can see a switch goes with her. She gets past the point. Everyone gets nervous. She gets past that point of getting nervous, and you can see. I fucking love the look on her face. Actually, she has this like psychotic smile on her face. So I'll sort of go like, "Are you ready?" And she goes like, "Yeah." And it's like, I go, "Fucking hell, I wouldn't like to be fighting her, honestly." So I've got a gym full of such good fights, and from the past as well. So you know, Jack Catterall, Rocky Fielding, Martin Murray, Carl Frampton, Tommy Coyle. And I actually messaged Tommy over the weekend, and I've got that many good fighters. You know, you could never pick your favourite. You know, people have asked me who's been your best fighter, what you've trained. I couldn't pick it. It wouldn't be fair to name one anyway. But I think I was messaging someone. I said, "Listen, use my first one, and you'll always be my favourite." And it's true because he was the one who got me into this. Even though in a roundabout way Steve Wood was pushing it, he made me enjoy doing it. It wasn't the fact that I enjoyed training people because it's, you know, it's a labour. But Tommy Coyle made me enjoy coaching people because he was so good to be around. It was enjoyable, and there's no way I would be in this position now if it wasn't for Tommy. Steve Wood could have taught me into training somebody, but that's not to say I'd have enjoyed it. Tommy Coyle made me enjoy coaching people, and the reason I'm doing this now today is through him.
Now, you say, that was sort of, he'll always be your favourite, that he got you into it, but would you say that your lowest moment in coaching has been the fight between Jack Cattrall and Josh Taylor? Did you find that hardest as the coach?
It's the most gutting that I've been, because we've had losses. Everyone has losses as coaches, especially when you've got a busy gym and you've got a lot of fighters and fighting at the level what my guys are fighting at. But when you know you've won and you don't get it at that level, I'm watching what Jack had been through for those couple of years and do it. And I've said this in the past, doing the right thing morally for the sport, stepping aside to allow the unification for the undisputed, to then get jobbed like that, it was sickening. And if it wasn't for Jack's strength of character, actually, it probably would have took me a lot longer to get over it myself. I think it was the third day after I FaceTimed him, and he sort of went, all right. And I went, okay, now you look much better than you did yesterday. And he went, yeah. He went, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm not letting him get to me. He said, I refuse. He said, I want it again. That's it. And I'm just glad, Josh has obviously, he's had a lot of stick because of the scenarios, the circumstances around it, and he wants to try and put it right himself. So I admire that in him as a fighter, because I was exactly the same. So I'm just glad that they're both on the same page, and hopefully it's going to happen early next year by the look of it.
Fingers crossed, because that was such a huge moment in boxing, but it must have been, unimaginable for the actual team, Jack and his team.
Sickening. I don't have ambitions as a trainer, and again, I've said this loads of times, I don't, because I'm doing this to assist fighters. So whatever their goals and aspirations are then mine. But I don't have personal ones. Jack Cattrall just wanted to be a world champion. But then, because of doing the right thing, was then in a position where he was then gifted the opportunity of being undisputed champion. So for him it looked like, do you know what? Look, he's done the right thing and it's all come round for him. To have that snatched away from you, knowing you've won as well, knowing we've won, it was heartbreaking. But listen, you have to move on. You have to get over it, because you can't live in the past, because that's behind you, and all we can do is try and make it right, try and fix it. Josh has been saying the same thing. He wants to put it right, and may the best man win. Let's do it.
Let's get that rematch. And just before we finish, you're now also an amateur coach as well as a pro coach, because you're going to be coaching your son to his first amateur fight.
Yeah, we opened Walked in ABC. I promise you, it's the best thing I've ever done in boxing. Walked in ABC is amazing. Like, the amount of lives it's changed already. We've been open now nearly 2 years, and it's unbelievable the changes I've seen in different kids over the years. Like, we had our first show over 12 months ago, 18 months ago, and the pictures on the wall in the gym of the kids who had skills bouts on that show compared to them now, the differences in them is amazing. And after that first skills show, 5 parents came up to me, 5 different parents, going, thanks so much for thanks for opening this gym, it's made such a difference to my kid, or thanks, my daughter's so much more confident, she actually has conversations with people now. Before she came to your gym, she wouldn't speak to anyone, and I just love it. It's like the best thing in the world. So we've got a lot of coaches down there who come down and help out. It's brilliant. I've got my coaching badges now because my son's got his first fight next week, so he wanted me to be in his corner. But I'm down there. I don't have to be there because we've got the coaches, but I go down there because I just love being in there, because the atmosphere and seeing the look on the kids' faces. Like, I'll go down, like last week I went down, the coaches was taking the whole session, and then they sent loads of different kids one by one out into the ring with me, and I just did pads with them all. At the end of the session, every single one of them walking out went, thank you Jamie, like, you're talking about one of the roughest areas you'll ever come across, and all the kids, it's like they've developed a proper respect not just for me, but for all the coaches in there as well. And that's what boxing gyms are about. They create an environment where kids want to be better, and I swear to God, it's the best thing I've ever done. It's amazing.
Would you say, looking back at everything you've done in boxing, that tops it?
Massively. Like, forget anything I achieved as a fighter or what I'll ever achieve as a pro coach. Changing one person's life for the better. Like, I know the lessons, the vast majority of them kids will never box as a professional. Like 99% of them. A couple of them will. Most of them, I'll have a few fights and then that'll be it. A lot of them just come and train, and they don't want to box. They just want to be in the gym, and they just love the fact that they come in boxing, and it'll make them more disciplined, more respectful. It'll give them more structure to their life, and their lessons what they'll take on for the rest of their life. So the biggest success stories for me are not the ones who turn pro, who go on and win world titles. It's the ones where it changes their everyday life. Because the area where I grew up, where I've got the boxing gym, over the last 20 years, has just got worse and worse. And I wanted to do this because I believe a boxing gym in a place like that will create a conveyor belt going the other way. So we're trying to create better people now. When they have kids, they'll send their kids to a boxing gym, hopefully in Warden, because they'll say, that was the best thing that happened to me. And then it'll create a conveyor belt going that way rather than going down, because for the last 20 years it's gone down, and we're on our way. And honestly, I'm so proud of the place. It's fucking unbelievable.
You're doing great work. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great catching up.
You too.
Thank you. Make sure you share, like and subscribe to Boxing Social.